Welcome back, guys. We have here the season 32 top 10 rating deck lists. This time around I also managed to get, or it's not like that hard, but it's a time investment to get to this rating duel stuff here, and I did play some games, but the top guys here, they are rating at 1,887, which I was at 150, or something, which definitely took a while. So the thing is with this rating duels, and you can let me know in the comment section what your opinion is, that this is just a grind basically, right? To get to this high of a number, you basically have to grind a lot. I might want to try this when, for example, Temper Dragon will come out. When Temper Dragon will come out, they will have quite short games, and then I might for 1 month try to climb and maybe reach the top 10. I don't know. I think the effort that people are spending to get into the top 10 is quite considerable, so I'm not quite sure whether I will even try. But without further ado, we have the season 32 top 10 rating deck lists here, and the first player, which I can't read the name of, but it's GQ0132, is playing Tier Elements, and this is something that I always find very interesting in these top 10 lists here. At least in the last one, we also saw that we definitely see a very diverse format. So everyone is talking about people are only playing Snake Eyes, people are only playing Duel. By the way, I have really met a lot of voice decks in this rating duel, at least in my bracket of 1050-80. So this is where I switched to Bestials, putting Bestials in my main deck, because basically every game I had was against voice, kind of crazy. And yeah, we have the Tier Elements here. A 40 card, there's nothing too special. We have cards like the Performance Trick Clown that has been played a lot. We have a Shadow Beast that is used to make a Shadow El Shadow Winder here. And we have this tag, which I'm not quite sure why we are using this. Let me quickly read this. We can, your opponent target a single monster that is used this card as material with monster effects. You can target one of your opponent's banished card, add to your hand, or special someone on the floor. This card is sent to the graveyard. You can target one banished card, shuffle it into the deck. Okay, can we send this to the graveyard via any other card? I'm not quite sure. I have seen this in a few lists. You can let me know in the comments if you know what this is used for, because I am not quite sure why we are using the Prima Donna. I have seen this deck list where the guy posting the deck list wrote the song text of this Katy Perry song, Prima Donna Girl. I think it's a Katy Perry song. But yeah, let me know in the comments whether you know what this is for, because I am not quite sure. By the way, if you like my videos, please consider subscribing, hitting a thumbs up and the notification bell. This would help me out a lot. Other than that, nothing too special, nothing too fancy. We are playing every Tier Elements trap at 1. This is correct in my opinion. We are playing Triple Scream. This is a very nice card, enabling a lot of our plays. Then we have cards like the Rota, getting access to another Rhino Heart. Rhino Heart, the best starter that gets us into the kit colors. We have kit colors still available here. The only format that still has the kit colors. Then again, I think that the TCG has the better Tier Elements deck, because they have, for example, Tier Elements Kashtira still at free. They have still a Merly, which means they can also go and play Sprite Elf, which we unfortunately can't. Sprite Sprint. And Sprite Sprint was basically a free send Tier Element name to the graveyard to get a fusion summon going. You can play, and the player here decided to play cards like the Supreme Seema, which is basically an additional Rhino Heart, but a bit worse, but makes it more consistent. There's a Fenrir here that can search the Tier Elements Kashtira basically. So a very solid list. The shufflers are still here, very good still into Jubel, into the fire decks, also into Voice when they want to resummon the low. So definitely a list that works. We have the planets here that can search the Kashtira stuff, and the other one that can search the Tier Element stuff here. So a very solid list here with Super Poly and the targets that accompany Super Poly. Then we have second place here. We don't have the deck list as of this point, also for the third place, but then we have the fourth place, which is a branded deck list. So very, very diverse branded, always at the tops here. We have 60 card branded with that Grasso Screener and a very interesting tag in Soul Release. This, funnily enough, says target up to 5 cards in any graveyard for target, banish them. This was a tag that was used early on against especially Fire King Snake Eyes, which makes sense, because if a Fire King Snake Eyes plays its entire first turn, they will have the Grunis in the graveyard, they will have original Symphospoids in the graveyards, as well as Promethean Princess, sometimes the Flame Birch Dragon, and then the level 1 bodies. So also, I don't know, an Ash and an Oak, and so on. So you can just target these cards, banish them, and then they can't be used, which definitely takes a lot of power and a lot of follow-up away from the Snake Eyes Fire King deck. A very interesting tech that you can search with this 3 of here triple tactics thrust. I think this is not like an Arbo mode list, and then again it kind of looks like one. We also play the Golden Sword, so let us see whether there are synchro monsters here. No, there are not. Obviously, we are playing good cards like Branded Retribution at 2, always the ability to search your Branded Fusion. We have cards like Allure of Darkness, also very interesting, but then again, also a bit gambly. Triple Nibiru here for hand traps, and Roland Lockbird. I think the person playing here was also playing against a lot of Voiceless Voice, because there are a lot of Voiceless Voice on Rating Duel, and Roland Lockbird is definitely nice against them. They want to add to the hand multiple times each turn. Against the other decks, it's not that great, not that impressive, but definitely not a bad hand trap that is quite impactful. We also have triple Bestials, but the Bestials make sense in this Branded Despair deck, and then triple Bestial Obelion, which you normally can also only play one. So we can see that they kind of tagged heavy against every dark and light deck. Then in the next position, we have actually super heavy Samurai with performable stuff in here and also Valen stuff in here. I have to say that, I guess now that I see it, there's only this one super heavy Samurai card. This is actually Valence, so crazy. You can just take this very unknown deck. I'm not even sure what this wants to accomplish. I guess they are ending up on something like an Appaloosa together with, I don't know, maybe a Baron and then an IP into SP, something like this, I could imagine, which if you can end up on this board is definitely enough to kill most opponents. Very interesting, and shows that if you know what to play, if you know how to play your favorite deck and how to take it against the current meta, you can definitely go ahead and be quite successful here, because I know that I said that you need a lot of games to reach the top of the rating duels, but then again, this is not only like bring the games in, you will also have to win the games, which means you need skill and you need to know how to play your deck. So very interesting here that we see Valence, a strategy that I am not very familiar with. So if you know what this ends up upon, let us all know in the comment section. But very interesting here. We see once again the Duel and Lockbird, and then yeah, the basic hand traps here. Maxi, Ash Blossom, only one infinite permanent, so the person decided to play Effect Veilers over Imperms, which is very interesting, I think. Maybe this deck is able to draw on the opponent's turn, which then would explain this, because if you are able to draw on the opponent's turn, then obviously Effect Veiler is better, as you can't use an infinite impermanence. Then we have the 6th place here, and obviously Jubel deck. This was to be expected, a clear 40 card lists, nothing too fancy. I think this is kind of the same list that I am playing, and this should or could also be the list of the guy that made it to the top 10 of Rating Duels last month here, because I basically copied this list. I guess I don't run a second Gruesome Grave Skirmer because I think you don't really need it, and I also only run 2 Beckoning Beasts or 2 Opening of the Spirit Gates. I'm not quite sure, but the list is kind of finished. I would say you can also just go ahead and play 2 Spirit of Jubel, but everyone is basically playing the Escape of the Unchained instead of the other Unchained trap, and then the extra deck is kind of like solved. So solved meaning if the people that play a specific deck basically know what kind of the best version is. Obviously there are also still like differences in the deck lists, but yeah, the Jubel deck is definitely known and people know what to play here, and it does not differentiate that much. I think you can just argue about whether you want to play like cards like 1-for-1 to make it more consistent, or play another hand trap, but this is something to the taste of the player. Obviously playing triple Spirit of Jubel makes this more consistent, playing to a Gruesome Grave Skirmer makes this more grindy, but you will then have less hand traps. So it's on you to decide what you want to do here, but a very solid Jubel list, and obviously Jubel, one of the best decks in the format, a very differentiated in the playstyle, very strong against a lot of decks, and without any really big weak points. So you can play Bestials, for example, against this deck, but it's not like Bestials kill this deck. The only thing is if they, for example, only open one of their normal summons, either the Samsara or only the Dark Beckoning Beast, and this somehow gets impermed, or not the Samsara gets impermed, but the next one, the Spirit of Jubel, then this kind of ends their turn. They don't have a lot of follow-up in terms of like a bonfire like Fire King has, or Diabellstar monster that can be special summoned. Though then again, the 1-for-1 comes in handy here. Very strong with the Spirit of Yubel, the Phantom of Yubel. And then we have only one deck left here, unfortunately, because only 5 of 10 decks have been reported as of right now. We have another crazy pile, Tearlaments, Horrors, together with, I don't know, Grass, and like cards like Necrophase, which I really hate. This kind of reminds me of this one form. We also have Snake Eyes in here, of this format that we have when only the Shizu cards were out, where we had this 60 card list that basically milled your entire deck on the first turn, and then you just lost the game, which was just so annoying. I remember Left Arm Offering also being in this deck. Really, this is one of my least favorite formats in the entire game, and this kind of looks like a list that also wants to accomplish this. So if you throw a Maxi against a list like this, you can never be sure whether you will end up just losing the game because of deck out, because this deck can definitely special summon a lot. We can see a lot of different engines in here, and yeah, once again, if we look at all these lists, at least the ones we have available, I think it's very crazy how differentiated this is, how diverse this is, and definitely makes the point that you can play a lot of different lists, a lot of high ceiling, high skill decks like Tearlaments, and just do well on the ladder, honestly, which I think is quite nice. People are always fixating on the top decks like Fire King, like Yubel, and complaining, and I know that a lot of people are playing these decks in the top ranks, but this kind of shows that you can take basically anything but Blue Eyes and Dark Magician, I guess, to the ladder and be quite successful with it. But let me know in the comments what you think. How was your season? What is your plan for this season? Are you going to climb to Master for the first time maybe, or just want to reach Diamond, or are you also wanting to reach the rating duels and maybe get in your deck list into the top 10? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for being here, and we will see each other tomorrow with the new leaks, hopefully.